feel free to jump in. If I'm not getting the subject that is of interest to you, let me know, and we'll move to that, whatever that subject is. But I think right now I found that we're going into what the bureaucrats call politely the silly season, which is election season. And before we ever get started, I have no clue what's going on in the 97th legislature.
Neither does the 97th legislature.
We'll leave that one on the table today. But in Hanover County, basically, we've come a long ways, I think, in the last 8 years that I've been intimately involved. We started off, I know, 8 years ago, I was doing speeches like this for the first time. And it's all this guy's fault right here, Kevin Smythe. Started off, this club and the Hanover Club were working together to put together a golf tournament as a fundraiser in Panera's over Virginia Commons. I made this slip of saying that I was a little upset with some of the things Hanover County was doing, because I've been working with Hanover County for years as an architect, going to planning commissions, building inspectors, public works, what have you. And I made the mistake of saying, darn it, I wish it could be better. I thought about running just to fix things. All he had to do was hear that. For the next 2 months, he pestered the hell out of me. Until finally I said, okay, I'll give it a try. So this is to let you know that service above self can get you in a lot of trouble. That's what I did. 8 years ago, I started off basically, my original campaign was pretty much that. Let's fix some of these things. So we go forward, and I had basically 4 things that I ran on at that time. One was controlling the size of county government. At that time, about the 12 years before, the county government had been growing at 2 to 3 times the pace of this population of the county. The other one I had was basically, if you recall, 8 years ago, we were still in a very stagnant economy, trying to come out of a recession. Nothing was going on in Richmond. Construction industry was dead. And one of the things I did not have a problem with, now this is all still controversial to this day with some folks, was the penalizing proffer system that we had with cash proffers. And I ran on getting those adjusted so that they were appropriate for the entire county. The next other thing we had was schools that were falling apart in our older schools. And the fourth thing that I was putting out there at the time was the attitude that our departments in the county should have with the citizens of the county. One of the things I used over and over was the fact that when you went into any county office, you should be greeted with people who were paving your way with stepping stones, not stumbling blocks. That, from what I understand, people are telling me, is much better today than it was before. I'm not gonna say we don't still have times when people come in and they feel like they're getting a runaround, but hopefully everybody now in the bureaucracy is thinking in terms of this is our job, is to serve the citizens of Hanover County. And when they come in, the first thing they should be doing, and this is what we're insisting on, is that they look to find a way to yes. When you come in, how can we help you? What can we do to help you accomplish what you're trying to do to make our community better? So I think we've had some success there. As far as the proper system, we made some adjustments on that. We were charging people $20,000 per house to move into a house in this county in 2012. Of that $20,000, only the road part of it could even be spent, because under the law, proper money could only be spent for capital improvements caused by growth. We still have school proffers in our bank account today that we cannot spend because we have overcapacity in our schools that was collected. But we didn't just adjust the proffers. The key thing that came along with that is we established the reserve for capital improvements projects at the same time. And that's now been named the debt service fund. What we did there is we took real money and put it in place of the money that proffers were wishing money, because no proffers got paid unless something got built. Well, when we put the debt service fund in, we took all the debt that the schools had, the county had, at that time, it was between $21 and $22 million a year was being spent on debt service. Now, if you take a look at that over a 20-year period, let's assume you took out no more debt, that will go from that 21 to 22 down to 0. What we said is no longer are we going to do that. We were spending $21 to $22 million a year at an 81-cent tax rate, which is still the same tax rate we have today. But every time something got paid off, that money was being siphoned out to other operations. So we put a floor, and we said we're going to go and we're going to put that $21 to $22 million invested every year, whether the debt service goes down or not. If you never did anything, you'd have collected $180 million in real dollars, not wishful dollars. As it is, as good businessmen in here, you all know that leveraging the funds have worked. So what have we been able to do? We now have a 5-year plan for consolidating Gandy and Henry Clay schools into a new school built on Gandy property. We're looking for land now for a new high school and middle school on the eastern part of the county, new parkland. We built a new courthouse, and there's a lot of stuff goes around since we took this money from the school to build a courthouse. Let me clarify one thing. The only thing that the board, at least in the 8 years I've been on it, has ever taken from the schools is their debt and the cost of their finance department. That debt service fund I was telling you about, all of their debt was moved to the Hanover County side of the ledger. The finance department at that time, we also had, the schools had a finance department, so did the county. Duplication. We had them consolidate 2 finance departments, allowed all the employees to cross-train. Now, all the cost of that finance department is on the county side of the ledger. So all the costs of that debt service and the county side of the finance department was now released to go back to our students in the schools. Any of you have school kids in Lee Davis, Patrick, Henry, back about 8 years ago? Okay, I see a hand go up. So you know that at that time, every time it rained, Lee Davis would flood, Liberty would flood as well. Because we had a case of, for instance, at Lee Davis, we had a storm pipe that was so filled up with silt that grass was growing out of the drain, and they were mowing it with it to cut grass. So when the rain came down, it just rolled in the building. The other thing we had at Lee Davis was garbage cans, placed all around the school. And everybody knows exactly where to put those garbage cans every time it rained to catch all the water coming through the roof. We did it, the storm drains are clean. We put in new storm drains at Liberty. They still have the garbage cans, but now they're holding trash. They're no longer catching water when it comes in through the roofs. And if anybody has not had a chance, both Patrick Henry and Lee Davis, which I consider our heritage schools, they were the first 2 schools in the county, have now gotten the brand new auditoriums. And if you haven't been there, go to an event. They're fantastic. Using the same system on a smaller scale that they use at JPJ up in Charlottesville. And if you were there for the Arts and Science Fair at Lee Davis, you heard some of the performances there, and you can't beat it. So we're in good shape there. The one place I'd have to say we didn't have complete success is on the growth of county government. Like I said, it was growing at 2 to 3 times the population back 8 years ago. Now, if we take out 2 sectors of the county government, we have taken it down to where our growth, it matches the population growth. And those 2 departments we have to take out, the law enforcement and fire and EMS. Both of those are growing at a faster rate than the population is. But there's good reason to it. So I feel like we've had a partial success. The remainder of the government is growing at the proper rate now, basically the same rate as population. But fire and EMS and law enforcement are 2 different ballgames. As you all know, security has become a much greater issue over these last few years than it used to be. For that reason, we've been working with the sheriff's department on a regular basis to try and help him enhance his forces to be able to meet these needs. We do not have officers in every school all day long. And I know this is a place he would like to go. Of course, the sheriff is the one who makes the decisions as to where he deploys his people. He could put one in every school right now if that was his choice. But he would have to take it away from somewhere else. So it's a matter of priorities and I have to rely on Sheriff Hines has done a fantastic job. I wouldn't even think about trying to tell him how to deploy his forces, because I think he's done it well. We have the lowest crime rate of any community in the Richmond area. And thanks to his good services and the citizens of the community. But one thing that I don't think has been mentioned that's important, Sheriff Hines has deputies at every school at least twice a day, except under unusual circumstances, the two most critical times of the day. When the school's let in the morning, they let out in the afternoon. He has the deputies in those areas move into those locations and provide additional security at those places. The other area is fire and EMS. Their demands are getting greater every year. We have historically had a combination of volunteer and professional firefighters. And it's been working very well, but we're also a graying community. This is seen in our schools. Our schools have been steady with our numbers over the last number of years. We're not growing at the younger age group, but our county is growing. So what does that tell you? We're getting more gray hair. A lot of that gray hair have been volunteers for years, and they're aging out. We have this year replaced the volunteer system at Black Creek, and Ashland has been a very proud volunteer fire department has come to the county and said we can't do it anymore. So we've had to come in and we've had to put professional firefighters in these locations. So these type of things that handle our security and the very safety of our community have been growing at a faster rate than the rest of the county, but I think with good reason. So I'm going to sit there and say I did not succeed in that area, that part of the area that I wanted to, but I'm not unhappy that we didn't succeed, because I think it's better for the community that these services are provided in the proper way. And basically, we can go into tons of other things. Let's talk about where we're going. One of the things I think that's on the agenda right now, I do want to share with you before we go. We have volunteers in this county, more than you can imagine. Matter of fact, next week we recognize our volunteers in the spirit of volunteerism. Hanover High School, I believe it's Tuesday night. And if you want to be inspired, come out to that event, hear what the citizens of this community are doing for the community. And I'm talking about from children up to folks up in their 80s are volunteering. We had a senior citizens event over here at Mechanicsville Baptist Church just a few weeks ago to help senior citizens find all different kinds of information on services available and what have you. One of the people volunteering and serving was over 90 years old, pushing carts around, serving food to everybody. I said, you were there, huh?
I heard about that.
It was fantastic. This is kind of attitudes we have in Canova County. We can be proud of it. But the volunteerism is the key to our community. And we see it right here in this room. We have a group right now that's MCEF, ACES, and Senior Connections sponsor senior rides. A fellow named Charlie Rasnick, some of you may know him in the community, heads that up. This is all volunteer citizens who go out, help senior citizens get to dialysis appointments, grocery stores, wherever they need to go, that people who are not able to get around on their own. It works beautifully, but these folks also are limited by their own cars. And the time that they have available, people have to call in and get an appointment to go, which is not unreasonable. But what we don't have is services for those who need special assistance. And this came to my attention about 3 years ago when one of my constituents had a leg amputated. Lived on Princess Anne Drive, right here in Mechanicsville. 2.5 miles from Sheltering Arms. This gentleman needed to have therapy. He seldom went because he needs specialized transportation to get there. The only transportation he can get was $70 a trip. So with $70 a trip, like many elderly folks, he opted to not go with therapy. He's no longer with us. But it hit me very hard on that, and I started looking, how can we meet this need? I've taken it to the Transportation Planning Organization, which is a regional group that deals with transportation issues. There, I've talked to the folks with the Department of Rail and Public Transportation, Federal Highway Commission. We are now have a grant applied for and expecting it to be approved in June. Matter of fact, the Commonwealth Transportation Board started talking about the pilot program that we're getting ready to initiate here in Hanover County for providing specialized transportation to people with these needs before we ever filed for the grant. So that tells us that we've got pretty good, strong support at all levels through the state for this. But this grant will allow us to come in and, for the first time of any community in the Commonwealth, develop a contractual type of service for helping folks in situations where they're in wheelchairs, they need specialized types of transportation to get to the different things they need to keep them from being trapped in their homes during their lives. We're hoping to have this underway by midsummer, getting this in and being able to start spreading this throughout the county to help our citizens who are disabled and severely disabled and get them into the places they need to go. And with that, I've got a couple of minutes left, so I'm gonna open it up and let y'all ask questions. So.
Questions? Come on, man. What do you want to know?
Just remember.
Canova
one
knows
thing.
everything.
Just remember, okay, well, Dave, just remember one thing. If you're happy with what I'm doing, thank heaven. If you're unhappy, blame heaven. Dave.